Chapter 1. If Li Tian had been alive for 20 years in 4 words, it would undoubtedly be miserable standing at the end of his 20s. He also cherished dreams one after another. For example, he also wanted to have such a prosperous day. For example, he also wanted to have a beautiful little girlfriend by his side. For example, he also wanted to drive a car all over the world. Travel. But these dreams are all shattered by reality. He grew up in an orphanage and didn't even know who his parents were. To use the sarcastic words of those around him who are similar to his age, he is a person who has parents but not parents since leaving the orphanage at the age of 13. Li Tian has lived on his own. He went to school and worked part-time until high school. Although his grades were good, he couldn't afford to continue studying, so he dropped out of school. Over the years in Liaoqing, Li Tian learned to be self-sufficient and how to live. Although life is miserable for him, he still has to live. Should the poor die, now Li Tian is working as a waiter in a small restaurant in Liaoqing. He works extremely hard every day. The boss gives him 20 yuan a day, and he works from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Although it was a bit bitter, Li Tian was already satisfied. At least the 20 yuan was enough for him to live in a small and sleepy county like Liaoqing, isn't this? Li Tian tidied away the tables and chairs alone in the restaurant, and then wiped the floor. This was the end of his day's work. The person who had been standing by to supervise Li Tian's work was a fat man named Wang Chang, and he was the owner of the restaurant. This Wang Chang is famous for being a bitch. Apart from himself, Li Tian is the only one working in the hotel. To put it bluntly, Li Tian does all the work of serving dishes, washing dishes, picking vegetables, and sweeping the floor. Li Tian, who had only been working for more than a month, couldn't stand it anymore. Hey, Li Tian, you should wipe the glass over there, right? How dirty does it look? Fatty Wang Chang pointed to the glass over there that Li Tian had just wiped and said, that glass was just wiped by Li Tian. What the hell is this fat guy asking him to wipe now? God, how can Li endure this? I just wiped the glass. Do you want to see if it looks like a mirror? Are you still wiping it? If you wipe it again, it will break. Li Tian threw the rag to the ground. Why are you talking? What's wrong with me asking you to do some work? Don't forget that I'm the boss. The fat man said arrogantly. Li Tian suddenly felt angry. You are the boss, right? The fat man didn't expect that Li Tian, who had been bullied by him in the past, suddenly changed his temperament today, and said in confusion, nonsense, I'm not the boss, am I still your kid? I'm going to quit fucking, okay? Li Tian, who roared angrily, said fiercely to the fat boss. I'm telling you, damn fat man, I've been putting up with you for a long time. Damn it, do you think I'm your slave? I put up with it before, but now I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to put up with it anymore. I have worked for 21 days this month. Tomorrow, you will count the money for me. If you dare to deduct a penny from me, then I will tell you everything about using fake oil and dead pork. I see you. How will the restaurant be opened in the future? Li Tian cursed fiercely. The fat boss was completely dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Li Tian, who had been bullied by him before, would get angry today. You, what are you? Didn't I make it clear enough? Damn you fat man, I'm quitting. Li Tian cursed fiercely, took off the torn scarf from his waist, threw it to the ground, and then walked towards the dark night. And what about the fat boss? He stood there with stiff muscles on his face, and finally looked at Li Tianyuan's retreating figure and cursed fiercely, brat, you dare to talk to me like this. Damn you, you will be a pauper for the rest of your life. On the dark street, only the street lights were emitting flickering light, and a lonely figure walked slowly on the road. Yes, He is Li Tian. He was very happy when he just came out of the hotel. Does that damn fat man think he is so stupid that he dare not resign? If I really quit, I don't believe that I, Li Tian, will be a waiter in this life. He muttered as he walked on the dark street. You can occasionally hear a few dogs barking, and the low-rise bungalows on both sides have basically turned off their lights. In fact, it's not very late now, it's only around 10 o'clock in the evening. But because Liaoqing is very small and very poor, there are very few people hanging out at night. It was almost late autumn, and it was quite cool at night. The occasional cool breeze made Li Tian, who was wearing a thin shirt, feel a little chilly. He shrank his neck and hurriedly walked into the dark night. It takes less than 20 minutes to get from here to the house he rented for 200 yuan, maybe less than 10 minutes if he walked fast enough. Li Tian, who was walking quickly forward, suddenly felt like he wanted to pee. After looking around, Li Tian finally felt that he should not pee on the road, but chose to pee in the dark alley over there. Who makes us fucking civilized young people, isn't this? Li Tian quickly ran over, unbuttoned his pants, and started peeing. A gust of cool wind blew over, making Li Tian feel slightly chilly. He muttered, "It seems that winter is coming soon. It's really getting colder." After peeing and putting on his pants, Li Tian was about to leave the alley when he suddenly felt something was wrong. Just now, he glanced at the entrance of the alley, and he felt a dark figure lying deep in the entrance of the alley. Is it a human? Is it a ghost? Li Tian suddenly felt a chill in his heart when he suddenly saw a figure lying there at the entrance of the alley. Li Tian couldn't see clearly who it was because the alley was too dark. Or something else. Who? Who is there? Li Tian pretended to be brave and shouted, "It's a pity that the black shadow didn't move," and didn't even say a word. This made Li Tian feel confused for a while, thinking, what is lying there? Curiosity made Li Tian bolder and bolder, and he actually walked inside step by step. Curiosity has harmed many people. At the same time, he quickly put his hand into his torn jeans and took out a lighter from the inside. With a pop, the lighter emitted flames, which shone brightly. Unfortunately, they were extinguished by the cold wind pouring in from the alley. But at that moment, when there was a slight light, Li Tian discovered someone lying in front of him. After discovering that there was someone in front of him, Li Tian hurriedly walked over. But what surprised him was that the further he walked, the more he could smell a fragrance that he had never smelled before. Could it be Li Tian Dang, who was not surprised, approached and opened the lighter with a snap again. A shocking scene appeared in his eyes. With the faint light of the lighter, he suddenly discovered a woman lying on the ground, a woman wearing black leather clothing. Li Tian was almost stunned when he suddenly saw it was a woman. "My dear, why is a woman here in the middle of the night?" Li Tian couldn't help but mutter. "Hey, girl, are you okay?" Li Tian couldn't help shouting as he approached, but there was no echo at the entrance of the dark alley, and the woman lying on the ground was as motionless as a dead person. Could he be dead? Li Tian was shocked in front of him and quickly reached out to touch the woman's breath. She was not dead, but still alive. Li Tian suddenly became excited, but then he became confused. Who is the woman on the ground? When the new book is released, Hua specially roars. "Brothers, pick up the tickets in your hands and throw them at me." Whether it is complaining about the female ghost, looking forward to the new book, or trampling on Huahua's evil character, you all hit me with your ticket. I will stand at attention and take a breath, absolutely motionless. Finally, I would like to say please touch, please collect, please reward, wow, haha. Chapter 2. Li Tian dared to use his head to guarantee that the woman in front of him was definitely not a woman from Liaoqing. Li Tian had lived in Liaoqing for 20 years, and he could still tell this with his eyesight. Although it was only a glance just now, Li Tian could already feel that there was absolutely no woman with her appearance in the entire Liaoqing, and she was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket. Although Li Tian didn't know the brand of the leather jacket, he could feel it from the bright light. It was definitely the most expensive leather jacket in Liaoqing. Looking at the strange woman in the middle of the night in front of him, Li Tian was startled for a moment and stayed in the dark alley. "Do you want me, Li Tian, to save the beauty once today? Could it be that I, Li Tian, am going to have bad luck? Is it bad luck? Is it luck?" "I don't know." Li Tian bent down, hugged the mysterious strange woman in front of him, and walked towards his residence. The house that Li Tian lives in is a small house that he rented for 200 yuan, so you can imagine what kind of house it should be like. After opening the rusty iron door and turning on the light, Li Tian had an unobstructed view of the entire cabin under the dim light of the light bulb. A stench filled my nostrils. It was 40 square meters inside, with a bed, an old table, dirty socks and messy clothes all over the floor. If you know the life of a single man, you can definitely guess what Li Tian's house in front of you looks like. The small bed, which was only 1 meter wide, was piled with tattered clothes as high as a mountain. Li Tian slowly carried the woman in front of him and walked towards the bed. After gently putting her on the bed, he gasped and stood next to him. He slowly sat down on a small wooden bench. With the light of the light bulb, Li Tian saw the woman's true appearance clearly for the first time. "Oh my God! What a beautiful face that is. The skin is like gelatin, white and rosy, gentle as jade, crystal clear. It is even more pure and flawless than the purest mutton fat jade, with a classically beautiful melon seed face, a strong and straight bridge of the nose, and a combination of feminine beauty and a dash of heroic spirit only found in men, slightly thin and soft cherry lips, showing an almost transparent ruby red, always smooth and moist, as if just one look can make people intoxicated, a head of long black hair as soft as water, sloping down like a waterfall, just right scattered on the slightly shaved shoulders. It must be long-term exercise that makes her figure have an overall upward straightness, just right breasts, pert hips, and is the most suitable model for a well-developed girl of the right age, long legs and slender waist, with a height of about 1.67 meters in terms of body shape. If you gain a point, you will become fatter, and if you lose a point, you will lose weight. But when he looked into Li Tian's eyes, he felt that the woman's face was very cold. There was a cold aura under that beautiful face, as if there was a sense of nobility and arrogance all over her body, like an iceberg. The beauties above are generally seen from a distance, but cannot be touched up close. "My dear, have I, Li Tian, accumulated good deeds in my previous life? How could I save such a top-notch beauty?" Li Tian was dumbfounded when he looked at the beauty on his bed. Looking at her without blinking, Li Tian couldn't get enough of such a beauty in his lifetime. But a huge question suddenly appeared in his mind. Who is this woman? Why did she faint here? She is obviously not from Liaoqing, but who is this mysterious woman? A series of questions suddenly came to Li Tian's mind. Looking at Li Tian, who fainted on the bed, he couldn't help but wonder, how could she faint? "Are you tired? Still sick?" As Li Tian walked closer, he suddenly saw something sticky sticking to the leather jacket under the mysterious woman's breasts. Upon closer inspection, Li Tian was shocked. It turned out to be blood, scarlet blood. No wonder she fainted, it turned out to be injured. With this thought, Li Tian quickly prepared to look at the wound, but when he glanced at the woman's high chest and breasts, he almost spurted nosebleeds, and his outstretched hand froze in the air. Nah, if she wakes up later, she won't have to blame herself. Did she look at something she shouldn't have? Li Tian thought to himself. Looking at the woman's pale and pretty face, Li Tian secretly said in his heart, "No matter what, let's save people first. After all, saving people is more important than anything else. Li Tian in front of him slowly stretched out his hand to pull open the woman's leather jacket. When his hand touched the zipper of the woman's leather jacket, he couldn't help but tremble a little. He turned his head to the side like Li Tian, a gentleman, and murmured, "I don't want to see, I don't want to see." Unfortunately, his eyes seemed not to obey him, and he still turned towards the woman's unzipped clothes. As the zipper was pulled down by Li Tian bit by bit, two human breasts squeezed together in the shape of a hemisphere appeared in Li Tian's eyes. The deep ravine squeezed out by the black silk bra, looking at it can charm a man to death. So big and so white. Li Tian only felt that his throat was a little dry and his whole body was so hot that his hand inadvertently touched the woman's skin. When the fingers touched the woman's skin, the woman who was lying quietly on the small bed as if she had died, didn't know that she was subconsciously awake. Or for some reason? She opened her eyes in an instant, and when she suddenly found a hand reaching towards her chest in front of her, a cold murderous intention appeared in her eyes. "You are seeking death." When the cold voice came out of her mouth, her hand suddenly pinched Li Tian's neck like a poisonous snake. The speed is like lightning, and the speed is incredible. Li Tian only saw the shadow of a hand, and then he felt a suffocation. His two hands quickly struggled instinctively to pull away the woman's slender hand. "Where is the woman in front of me?" Although there was infinite murderous intent and resentment in her eyes, her strength seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. I don't know if it was because her body was seriously injured or something else. But in the end, her strength became weaker and weaker. Slowly he lowered his hand, his vision went dark, and he fainted. Li Tian, who had escaped from hell, quickly shook off the woman's hand, squatted on the ground, his neck was red, and he started coughing, cough, cough, cough. After kowtowing several times, he slowly raised his face. At this moment, his eyes were full of fear. Just now, if I hadn't struggled instinctively, I wouldn't have been crushed to death by this crazy woman. Who was she? Why so fierce? Li Tian sat on the ground speechlessly, looking at the unconscious woman with disbelief in his eyes. Damn it, is it so hard to be a good person? And you almost got crushed to death? Li Tian cursed, but when he thought about it, Li Tian suddenly felt that something was wrong. This woman was too weird. When he took action just now, Li Tian didn't even see her. Li Tian, who had been famous for fighting in Liaoqing since he was a child, suddenly realized that this woman was definitely not her. Ordinary women. She doesn't look like an ordinary person. How can an ordinary woman have such strength? She looks like she is only in her 20s and has a slim figure. How could she be so strong unless she has practiced for one thing? Should I save her? What if she wakes up again and pinches herself to death? Li Tian thought tangledly. But if you don't save it yourself, this woman seems to be so seriously injured. If the wound is not cleaned, it will soon become infected, and then she will be in big trouble. Finally, Li Tian finally made up his mind. Forget it, let's save him. Who makes us a kind person? Thinking like this, Li Tian finally walked over slowly. He tried to poke the woman in front of him gently with his hand. After finding that there was no response, he slowly pulled away the woman's leather jacket. At this moment, he didn't bother to look at the woman's body, because Li Tian had no intention of looking at the wounds under the woman's breasts and chin. There was a purple-black patch on the lower end of her chest, and there was also a very deep scar. Judging from the shape of the wound, it didn't look like a knife wound or a gunshot wound, but more like being bitten by something. Looking at the scar, Li Tian was secretly surprised. No wonder this woman was in a coma. She was so seriously injured. He quickly brought water to clean the woman's wound slightly, and then used alcohol to help disinfect it. During this period, the woman lay there without any movement, and even the alcohol was spilled on it. She didn't even react at all when the wound was applied to her. In the end, Li Tian, who had been busy until about 1 o'clock, finally treated the woman's wound. Although the wound was still purple and black, at least it would no longer be infected. Sitting on the ground, Li Tian wiped the sweat from his forehead, took out a pack of shriveled and wrinkled off-brand cigarettes from his jeans pocket, took out one from inside, lit it, and took a deep breath. Who is this woman? Li Tian thought. When he was cleaning the woman's wound just now, he accidentally discovered a strange pattern tattooed on the woman's wrist, a pattern in the shape of a swastika. What does this pattern mean? Li Tian doesn't know, and now it seems that he can only find out after this weird and mysterious woman wakes up. Looking at the strange and mysterious woman in front of him, Li Tian had no time to think. After a tiring day in the hotel, Li Tian finally couldn't help but lie down on a small sofa next to him and snored. In the dark night sky, 2 cars were seen driving as fast as sharp arrows on a highway leading to Liaoqing. The car in front was a Land Rover Freelander 2. The domineering front of the car was like the head of a whale. It was extremely powerful. Behind it was an Audi A4 following quickly. There were 3 men sitting in the Land Rover Freelander 2. The man driving the car was a man with a crew cut, masculine and strong, with a pair of cold eyes like a wild beast driving the car quietly. The weird swastika tattoo that occasionally appears on the wrist makes people feel extremely weird. Isn't the pattern on his wrist the same as the woman Li Tian picked up? The 2 men at the back were even more chilling to watch. One of them was tall and burly, with red hair and 2 big eyes that looked like an arhat, sitting majestically in the back. The other man next to him was thin, but his eyes were as ferocious as a poisonous snake. He was more sinister and terrifying than the red-haired burly man next to him. A pair of skinny, calloused hands also wore a strange ring. A ferocious venomous snake is engraved on the ring, which looks extremely eye-catching. This place is really remote. I never thought she could escape to this place. A sinister and harsh voice suddenly said coldly from the mouth of the man with a thin figure but a pair of snake-like triangular eyes. He looked at the rolling green mountain road outside the car. The red-haired man next to him suddenly turned his head with his eyes wide open and said, "From Las Vegas to now, this bitch has killed 11 of us in total. Damn, it's so hateful." The man with triangular eyes smiled coldly. "Of course, don't forget that she is an ace killer." "Haha, but no matter how powerful she is still not as powerful as you." The guy known as the Venomous Venom narrowed his triangular eyes and smiled slightly. "She is still very powerful. She was hit by me, Black Snake, and she was able to escape so far. She is the first in the world. What's the point of escaping far away? The result is death," the red-haired man said wildly. "To be honest, if she hadn't been accidentally attacked by my Black Snake, it's still unknown who would live and who would die in this battle." Xiaodu thought about the scene at that time. To be honest, even he himself had some scruples. The red-haired man next to him said, "No matter how powerful she is, she betrayed the organization after all. Betrayal is equal to death. Since she chose to die, let's give her a ride." The drug lord looked at the small county town of Liaoqing with the lights flickering in front of him, and said silently, "It would be nice for her to be able to deal with Ing here." The gloomy voice floated in the dark night, and the 2 cars drove quickly towards Liaoqing. After these mysterious people come to Liaoqing, what huge changes will happen to Liaoqing? What kind of character is the shadow in their mouths? Let's wait and see. Chapter 4. For Li Tian, his 20 years of living in Liaoqing can be described as ordinary. There are no ups and downs in life, and there are no ups and downs in his magnificent life, so much so that when he picked up this woman last night, Li Tian was still wondering if he was dreaming. When the sun rose high in the early morning, Li Tian got up from the sofa, rubbed his eyes, and glanced at the mysterious woman lying quietly on his bed. Li Tian suddenly became excited because he discovered that this was not a dream, but a dream. It's true, absolutely true. Looking at the woman on the bed, Li Tian suddenly felt that it would be great if he could marry such a woman and be his wife for the rest of his life. He could live for only 2 years, or even 3 years, but thinking about it, whether it can be realized is another matter. A bitter smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, then he walked towards the corner of the hut, and took out an iron box from inside. After opening the iron box, he saw several crumpled 100 yuan bills inside, stacked in a pile. At first glance, it seemed that there were 2,000. Looks like a lot. Li Tian slowly took out $500 bills, then gently closed the door and walked out. The sun is very warm outside, but Liaoqing is still working as usual, working on what needs to be done, and working on what needs to be done. In the past, at this time today, Li Tian should have been busy washing vegetables and dishes in a small restaurant, but today he was walking towards the drugstore. The drugstore is not very far, it only takes a few minutes to walk. There is an old doctor in the drugstore, wearing a pair of glasses. He looks to be in his 60s. Mr. Chen, get me some anti-inflammatory medicine. Li Tian walked in and said to Chen Laodao, who was in the drugstore, Mr. Chen held up the reading glasses on his eyes with his hand. Little lazy, did you get into a fight again? Mr. Chen said with a smile while taking the medicine. This Li Tian used to buy anti-inflammatory medicine by himself after every fight, isn't that right? He is still an old acquaintance with Mr. Chen from this drugstore. Mr. Chen, you guessed wrong this time. It's not for me, but for someone else. Li Tian said with a smile. Mr. Chen took out 2 bottles of penicillin and 2 bottles of amoxicillin from above and handed them to Li Tian in front of him. Really? When did you learn how to stop fighting? Mr. Chen said with narrowed eyes. I have long since abandoned evil and embraced good. After saying that, after paying the money, Li Tian was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. He turned his head and looked at Mr. Chen and asked, Mr. Chen, what should I do if there is purple and black color around a person's wound? Mr. Chen narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, then it's 100% poisoning. Poisoned? Li Tian frowned slightly. Mr. Chen nodded. Yes, only if you are poisoned will the area around the wound turn purple and black. Then what medicine should be used? Li Tian asked. Mr. Chen, it depends on what kind of poison you were poisoned with. I don't know what kind of poison it is, but the area around the wound looks purple and black, and it seems to have been bitten by something. Li Tian said, recalling the wound of the woman lying in his home. Just listen to Mr. Chen say, if you are bitten by poison, it is best to suck out the poison as soon as possible. If you cannot go to the hospital for treatment in time, you can also suck it with your mouth, but in this case it is best to be careful to avoid yourself poison too. But under normal circumstances, antibiotics are still very good. How about it? Do you want it? Mr. Chen looked at Li Tian Dao and said, yes, give me some. Mr. Chen smiled and took 2 bottles of antibiotics from the medicine cabinet and handed them over. So Li Tian sold 2 more bottles of antibiotics, and then hurried back to his hut. When he returned, the mysterious woman was still lying there like a dead body. Li Tian opened the woman's wound and took a look, only to see that the area around the wound was becoming more and more purple-black, and the side was swollen. Seeing the condition worsening, Li Tian quickly ground up the anti-inflammatory medicine, then applied it bit by bit, and then gave the woman some antibiotics that were specially designed to treat poisons. After working hard for almost 2 hours, Li Tiankai was finally done. He breathed a sigh of relief, looked at the woman on the hospital bed and murmured, "I will try my best to save you. Hey, who made you hurt so badly? Besides, I don't know what happened to your wound." "There is no hospital in Liaoqing, so it seems that we can only leave it to fate. But if I help her take drugs..." Li Tian suddenly thought of this and quickly gave up the idea. He didn't dare to take advantage of it. If he had saved this mysterious woman, she would not have to kill him after she woke up and knew the truth. After all, the wound was under the chest. Li Tian didn't have the guts. After Li Tian gave the woman medicine, he went out to the restaurant to ask for his wages. While walking on the street, several acquaintances greeted Li Tian. Li Tian, who was walking on the street, suddenly heard the sound of the car horn in front of him. Li Tian turned his head and glanced, and was stunned for a moment. Wow, what an awesome car! One of them is a Land Rover Freelander too, and the other is a black Audi driving towards this side. Liaoqing is a remote mountain village. Although there are cars, most of them are Jiefeng brand trucks for hauling coal and cargo. The occasional Santana is considered very good, but today, 2 awesome cars suddenly appeared in Liaoqing. Although there is a Land Rover with a cost of hundreds of thousands in the front and an Audi in the first-tier cities in China, they can be said to be only a handful in this remote mountain village, especially someone like Li Tian who loves cars in his dreams. Looking at those 2 awesome cars, Li Tian wondered, when will he be able to buy a fucking car? Li Tian, who smiled bitterly, still knew himself. What kind of car do you want now? For him, it is simply a foolish dream and does not rely on reality. Chapter 5. But he just glanced at it casually, and then walked in the direction of the hotel. After walking over, Li Tian suddenly felt something was wrong. Why did such a luxury car suddenly appear in Liaoqing? And after I suddenly picked up a mysterious woman, she definitely looks like a rich person. Is there any connection between them? After thinking carefully, Li Tian turned his head and glanced at the 2 cars again. I saw that the 2 cars had stopped in front of a small store. Several tall men in black suits walked out of the car and walked towards the small store. Hey, have you ever seen an injured woman in her 20s, wearing a black leather coat, very beautiful, and very cool? 4 men in black suits who got out of the Audi asked with cold faces to a woman in her 30s who was holding a baby in the store. The child in the arms of a woman in her 30s didn't know whether she was frightened by the dangerous aura brought by the 4 men in black suits, or started crying sharply for some other reason. I saw the woman coaxing the child in her arms, while speaking to a few 4 men in black suits in substandard Mandarin. Why are you so loud? Really, it scared my child. I'm asking you something. Another man wearing a black suit next to him roared angrily when he heard the woman talking nonsense. The woman was immediately frightened, and the child in her arms began to cry. I haven't seen it, I haven't seen it. The woman said quickly, holding the child in her arms and stepping back, as if she was impatient. The 4 men in black suits standing there suddenly turned cold. One of them suddenly took a step forward and clenched his fists, as if he wanted to hit the woman. The woman was so frightened that she turned pale and hid back, while the child in her arms cried loudly. Brothers, what's wrong? Suddenly a voice came over. 4 men in black suits turned around and saw a guy looking at them with a smile. Isn't this exactly Li Tian? It turned out that Li Tian was so frightened when he heard the child here that he cried and ran over quickly. Who are you? A tall, thin man in a suit suddenly glanced at Li Tian coldly. Li Tian smiled and said, I'm from this small city. What's wrong? Big brothers, you look like you've just arrived in Liaoqing, right? If you need any help, just ask. Li Tian said, as if he looked like a good old man. The tall and thin man asked, "Have you ever seen an injured woman in her 20s? She is wearing a black leather coat and she looks very beautiful." After the tall and lanky man asked coldly, Li Tian was startled. Sure enough, there is indeed a connection. It turns out that these strangers driving luxury cars are really related to the woman he picked up originally. Li Tian wanted to say that he had seen them before, but he suddenly felt that the men in black suits across from him had some vicious faces, as if they were not good people. In addition, the relationship between the woman lying in her home and these people has not yet been clarified. It would be okay if he was a friend of the mysterious woman at home, but if he was an enemy, it would be a disaster. Don't forget that the woman was still seriously injured. Li Tian was thinking about how to answer when the tall and thin man suddenly said coldly, "Have you seen him before?" Li Tian quickly said, "No, no. But don't worry, brothers. If I see you then, I will definitely notify you as soon as possible." Li Tian said with a smile. When the tall and thin man heard what Li Tian said, he didn't even look at Li Tian. He suddenly turned his head and walked towards the Land Rover Freelander 2 parked next to him. The car window slowly rolled down, and a macho man with red hair and eyes like calves appeared in Li Tian's sight. The ferocious face made Li Tian feel a sense of fear. Apart from seeing such a character on TV, this was the first time Li Tian met him. After the tall and thin man in a suit lowered his ears and said a few words to the red-haired man. The red-haired man nodded slightly and closed the car window again. The other 4 men in suits just glanced at Li Tian slightly, then got in the car and drove away. Looking at the 2 cars driving away, Li Tian wondered, what are the origins of these people, and what is their relationship with the woman lying next to him at home? No, I have to rescue that woman quickly, and then ask him properly. When Li Tian went to the restaurant to ask for half a month's more wages, the woman in the room suddenly opened her eyes. Maybe it's because Li Tian's medicine is so effective, or because this woman has good physical strength, but now it can be seen that this mysterious woman is indeed awake. When she opened her eyes, her hands clenched tightly instinctively, and her eyes as bright as autumn water looked around carefully. At the same time, he walked down from the crib with difficulty. After taking a cold look at the room in front of her, this mysterious woman could immediately tell who was living here. Looking at the dirty little room, the woman frowned slightly. "Why am I in a place like this?" the woman murmured to herself. Then she quickly looked at her wound. Surprisingly, the wound was bandaged and covered with medicine. There were several bottles of antibiotics for her treatment on the table next to her. When she saw this, the woman stood up slowly while holding her wound, and looked outside through the small cloudy window without saying a word. At this moment, crisp footsteps suddenly came over here. The mysterious woman quickly pressed her body against the wall with vigilance, and slowly opened the door. A figure walked into the room. Just as he walked in, the mysterious woman suddenly made a strange move, using one arm and a quick cross-choke to grab his throat. At the same time, cold words came out of her mouth. "Don't move. If you move again, you'll be dead." Who is the person choked by the backhand of the crosslock? Isn't it Li Tian, who just came back? With his throat pinched, he felt suffocated, and he quickly said, okay, I won't move, don't kill me." At the same time, his head turned 180 degrees, and thought to himself, what the hell is going on? Who are you? Where are you? The mysterious woman's cold voice suddenly asked in his ear. Although the voice was beautiful, it became so unpleasant to Li Tian's ears at this moment. There was no way the other party wanted to kill him. How could she like this voice? "My name is Li Tian." The mysterious woman said, "I don't know you. I didn't even introduce him to you. How could you know me?" Li Tian blurted out. As soon as the other party's wrist tightened, Li Tian suddenly felt a suffocating feeling on his neck. If you keep talking nonsense, I will kill you. A cold voice came into Li Tian's ears. Yes, yes, yes. Li Tian only felt that he couldn't afford to offend this woman. He really couldn't afford to offend her. Let me ask you, does this room belong to you? Yes. Li Tian answered honestly. You also bandaged my wounds? The woman continued to ask. Who told you to touch me? The woman said suddenly angrily, obviously because the wound was under her chest, and there was an invisible murderous aura in her voice. Li Tian was stunned for a moment. I wanted to save you. I saw you unconscious on the ground, with blood still on your body. If I hadn't saved you, before he could finish speaking, Li Tian suddenly heard the woman yell angrily, who asked you to save me? Li Tian felt miserable all of a sudden. Yes. Did someone ask me to save him? Li Tian, who suddenly thought of this, felt that he was just too full to hold on. Not only did his good intentions go unrewarded, but now he also caused death. Li Tian suddenly became furious when he thought of this, and he was ready to risk his life at this moment. Okay, this is what you said. Even if my surname Li is a fucking bitch, I shouldn't save you, right? If you want to kill me now, just kill me. If my surname Li frowns, I will be your grandson. A roaring voice came out of Li Tian's mouth. After Li Tian said this, the mysterious woman was slightly startled. Aren't you afraid of death? Afraid of what happened? Am I still kneeling down to beg you? Li Tianyu said. The woman snorted coldly, you are a man. After her words came out, she actually let go of Li Tian's neck. After Li Tian was released, he squatted on the ground. His entire face was pale, and he took a few deep breaths. If you dare to tell a word about what happened today, I guarantee that you will die in an uglier death than anyone else. The woman in front of her suddenly looked at Li Tian and said coldly. Li Tian looked at the woman in front of him and thought to himself, what a fucking weird woman. After this scene, Li Tian ignored the weird woman. Although she was beautiful and had a great figure, she felt indescribably awkward in Li Tian's eyes at this moment. What the fuck kind of woman is this? Why are you so domineering? So smart? Will you kill people at every turn, and take action at every turn? What about women? He didn't say anything. He just walked outside the iron gate and looked around. Her injury was still serious. Although her attack was sharp, she still felt pain. When she calmed down, she slowly sat on the edge of the bed and glanced at the room. Is this your room? Nonsense. Li Tian turned his head and said coldly. Where did you save me yesterday? Was there anyone else when you rescued me? The woman continued to ask. No. It's just me. When the woman heard what Li Tian said, a big stone fell in her heart. Did you buy these medicines? The woman pointed at the antibiotics on the table next to her and said. Li Tian snorted. No. The woman knew that Li Tian was talking angrily. Thank you. A cold word came out of the woman's mouth. After hearing this, Li Tian finally smiled. How dare you still say thank you? I rescued you in the middle of the night last night, and it took me a whole night to help you treat your wounds. You, on the other hand, want to kill me as soon as you wake up? What a dog bite. Li Tian had not spoken yet. The woman suddenly turned around with ferocious eyes and glared at him. What did you say? Li Tian shut up quickly. To be honest, Li Tian felt indescribably afraid of the woman in front of him, especially the way she gave people the feeling of being repelled thousands of miles away. Let me ask you, where is this? The mysterious woman sat on the bed with difficulty. Although she tried hard to endure the pain on her face, Li Tian could still see that she was in pain. "This is my room." "I'm asking, what is this place?" The woman wanted to lose her temper, but unfortunately she felt extremely weak when she spoke. Li Tian couldn't bear it when he saw her uncomfortable look, and said slowly, "Liao Qing." After the woman heard what Li Tian said, she frowned slightly and said, "Why did I get here? Am I not going to Kyoto? Is it because I got into the car by mistake after being injured?" Looking at the woman sitting quietly aside, Li Tiandao said, "Hey, you have asked all the questions that need to be asked. Now is it my turn to ask you?" The woman's eyes flashed with a cold light, and she glared at Li Tian. "What do you want to know? What's your name? Where is your home? How did you end up here? And you were so seriously injured?" Li Tiandao, unfortunately, the woman said coldly, "It's better that you don't know these things." "Why?" Li Tian asked in confusion. "Because the less you know, the longer you will live. If you know too much, I will be the first to kill you." Hearing what this woman said, Li Tian couldn't help but feel a little scared. This woman's tone and words definitely didn't sound like she was joking. Li Tian felt regretful in his heart from time to time. Why did he fall in love with such a fatal woman? "Then forget it, I won't ask any more. Just listen to Li Tiandao say," the woman sneered and ignored Li Tian. Chapter 7. "But I can tell you that 2 very powerful cars have come to Liaoqing now, and the people in the cars are looking for you. I just met them on the street." Li Tian suddenly remembered the 2 cars he just met. Chazy said. After Li Tian suddenly said this, the woman's eyes suddenly became murderous. "What did you say? They are chasing you so soon?" A strange sentence came out of the mysterious woman's mouth. When Li Tian heard what she said, he thought for a moment and said, "Do you know them?" "Of course I do." Her voice was filled with murderous intent. "Is he your friend?" Li Tian asked again. The mysterious woman suddenly turned to look at Li Tian. "What do you care about? You'd better get as far away from me as possible now, otherwise you will definitely die." The woman said suddenly. Hearing what this woman said, Li Tianjin was very angry. He didn't expect that this woman would be so ungrateful. Curse yourself to death over and over again? It's like she won't be happy if she doesn't die. Damn it. He knew that what the woman said had other meanings. "Okay, since you don't want me to care about you, this is my room. From last night to now, I have been unlucky and looking for trouble. Now that you are awake, is it time to leave my room?" Li Tian said in a cold voice. When the woman heard that Li Tian had issued an eviction order, she immediately said with a cold expression, "Do you think I like to live in a shabby house like yours?" As she spoke, she really walked out of the bed with difficulty, covered her wounds and walked step by step towards the small iron door, as if she really wanted to leave the room in front of her. Just when she was about to reach the door of the room, the woman who had been so cool and charming just now suddenly weakened her legs and fell to the ground. Li Tian stood aside, watching her fall down and said, Keep pretending?" After staying for a while, Li Tian found that the cold and beautiful woman didn't respond at all. He was suddenly puzzled and thought quickly, could it be that he was really fainted? With this thought, Li Tian quickly went to help the woman up. Hey, are you okay?" Li Tian looked at her and said worriedly, but the cold and charming woman didn't react at all. Her eyes were tightly closed and her face was extremely pale. Li Tian took a look at her wound, but saw that the purple-black color had extended further and further towards her body, and the surrounding area had begun to become swollen. "What should we do?" Li Tian said depressedly, but in the end, he slowly put the woman on his bed and continued to apply medicine to her. I beat someone to death." A shouting sound instantly spread in Liaoqing. Liaoqing was very small, and the scream just now spread to almost every corner of this small city. Some people who like to watch the excitement can't help but go out of the house and look at the place where the sound came from to watch the excitement. Some people ran directly towards the scene of the accident. Even Li Tian was no exception. Was there a fight on the street? There's something good to see. With this thought, Li Tian hurriedly went out to see who was fighting. There are 3 types of fights that often occur in Liaoqing. One is a fight between a wife and her husband, another is a fight between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law, and another is a fight between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. Neighbor fights. Each kind of fight can be described as colorful, so Li Tian wanted to go out quickly to see what was going on. Who was fighting again? When he ran out, there were many people standing outside. Aunt Wang, are you fighting? Li Tian asked a woman in her 30s. The woman called Aunt Wang pointed to the place in front and said, "In front." After hearing this, Li Tian ran away to watch the fun. When he came here, he suddenly discovered that the fight seen today was far from a fight between neighbors, let alone a fight between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. It was actually someone beating someone in broad daylight. The person who took action was a man in a black suit. There were 2 cars parked nearby, one was a Land Rover and the other was an Audi. When he saw these people, Li Tian was slightly startled. It turned out to be them. What about the person who was beaten? It turned out to be Li Tian's former restaurant owner, that fat guy. It turns out that the group of guys with unknown origins just came to Fat Wang Chang's shop to get clues about a woman, but Wang Chang's words offended these unknown people. Isn't this? At this moment, he was beaten so hard that he was screaming on the ground. The man in the black suit kicked and hit him. Fatty Wang Chang fell to the ground with a bruised nose and face, unable to fight back. None of the neighbors standing around dared to say a word, because everyone could see that these people of unknown origin who suddenly came to Liaoqing were definitely not easy characters to mess with. Li Tian was also standing there, not daring to come forward. He knew in his heart that these unknown people were looking for the woman lying in his room, but he couldn't say that Li Tian was not stupid. He could hear from the woman's words what he was looking for her in front of him. The person is definitely not her friend. Never mind. Suddenly, a sharp voice came from the car, and then the car door slowly opened, and a man with a short stature, but a pair of cold eyes like a poisonous snake stepped out of the car. The man's face was pale and he was injured and was wearing a strange poisonous snake ring. Isn't this person a drug lord? After the drug lord got down, a burly man like an arhat stepped out from the other side of the car. He was more than 190 centimeters tall, with red hair and well-developed and strong muscles that made the clothes he wore taut. Looking at such a person gives people a feeling of oppression. When he walked out, the neighbors who were watching couldn't help but take a step back.